I would like to call to order the Women's Commission for Thursday, February 26, 2026. I'd like to ask everyone if they can join me for the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Dr. Valerie Francisco Menchavez,
Present.
Gabby Maxman. Here. Adrian Tissier,
Here.
Natasha Opfel,
Present.
Lizelle Chan Lucero.
Okay. We have a special oath of office this evening, and we have our council member, Jesselyn Manalo, is going to welcome her new member, Zell Chan Lucero, and she's going to swear her in. And before I do that, maybe I should introduce the mayors here. Mayor Glenn Sylvester, the Vice Mayor Teresa Prano, and Councilmember Jesselyn Manalo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Tissier. Thank you all for this opportunity. Please come up, Lizelle, as we do an oath in office to fill in your seat. And today, I'll ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Lizelle Chan Lucero,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and to the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Oh, she's passed it. I told her to say a few things to
Sure.
address you folks.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Please.
Mr. Mayor, did you want to say a few words?
Okay, I will. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. It's a great pleasure to have Ms. Chan fill the seat as nominated by Councilmember Manalo at one of our last meetings. And I think the commissions, well, I don't think I know, that it's a very part of our daily city, especially in the advisory capacity that you all advise us. You basically make it easier for us. So, Ms. Lucero, I welcome you, and I thank you so much for wanting to provide service to Daly City. That's what she said a little bit earlier. She wants to be of help to Daly City. Thank you so much.
Ms. L, did you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity and, to Councilwoman Jocelyn Manalo for having faith in me that I could, help and I could give my service to the community of Daly City. And thank you, Mayor, and all the council members. Thank you.
Well, we welcome you with open arms. Join us at the dais. Councilmember Manalo. Councilmember Perano, would you like to say anything?
I'm just very excited for all of you to have a full team here. I can't wait to hear and see what you produce at this dais, and for the women of all ages, for all of us. I'm so proud, and I'd like to welcome Lizelle. You're going to have a great time. These ladies are phenomenal, and I appreciate you taking time out of your life to serve. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Belle, did you have any family members you'd like to introduce? It looks like you have quite the crowd here. Now, if you touch the bottom there, you're. And it'll turn green.
Oh. Yes, I have my family over here. My mom, right there. There's my husband, Florendo, and my youngest daughter, Francine, and my two other children, Rayanne and Raiden. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Well, welcome to the family. You're all part of the family now, so thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Did somebody have, Jocelyn, do you have another word you want to say?
No, yeah, I definitely want to say something. I just want to say thank you, Lizelle, for taking on the opportunity to serve on the Women's Commission. You know, when I had a vision of the Women's Commission when I was mayor in 2024, it definitely looks like the vision here today. Each and every one of you bring forth your lived experiences as women in our community, as leaders, and as mothers. So it's really wonderful to see each and every one of you. The future is bright in Daly City. As we say, you know, Daly City tips over more to women, actually, or percentage-wise. And so it was so important to have this commission birth so that we are able to have the voices of each and every one of you represented in all your different capacities and roles. So congratulations, Lizelle. Thank you, Commissioner Pell, Chair Tessier, Vice Chair Maxman, Commissioner Francisco Menchavez, and for the staff that Natalie and really your wonderful staff here that provides the opportunity for our voices to be heard and to bring forth programs and policies that we know will better our community. And so thank you so much for this opportunity to address each and every one of you. But it really gives me so much joy to see all the amazing work ahead. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, and thank all of you for coming. All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes for the meeting of January 22nd, 2026. They are in our packet.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Okay, we have a motion. Is
I
there a
second.
And we have a second. We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Oral communication. Are there any comments by anybody in the audience other than those we've heard from already? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to our communications, our Women's History Month event. I wanted to open that up for discussion if people had some ideas.
One of the things that I was toying about today is recognizing the women in our community that serve, perhaps maybe the women of the various commissions, Daly City, or even, I know this might be a conflict of interest, but women who have been prior council members in Daly City that are still around somewhere in the Bay Area. I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about, sort of in terms of who to recognize during Women's History Month.
Okay, any other thoughts?
In the last Women's History Month event, it was obviously the commemoration of the Women's Commission and us doing our oaths. In the past, have there been recognition of other women serving in Daly City in different capacities?
Yeah, it was in the packet for 2024,
last.
yeah.
Yeah, in 2024, the mayor at the time did recognize women in the community in Daly City. I believe there might have been 5, but I can confirm that in the email correspondence.
Okay. Could we chat about maybe asking, women in Daly City who are leaders or engaged in some way and recognizing them? Since there's 5 commissioners, maybe we can round up 5 names to honor.
I had a thought as well that I want to throw out there. It doesn't exclude what you're talking about, because I think that's really important that we be inclusive in our community. But this year, from the national level, they're talking about sustainability, whether it be financial sustainability, environmental sustainability, just sort of leading the change for women in the country. And they talk about shaping our sustainable future. And I thought a great way to start off an event like that is to have a good speaker that could kind of set the tone. And the one person that came to mind was Jackie Spear. And I did because I thought if we're going to try to do something like that, I wanted to see if she'd be available. And I told her we're going to be discussing this, we're going to come up with all ideas, but I just wanted to not say her name and then ask her and have her say no, and we're 2 weeks out from the event. So she did say she could, but unfortunately can't do that particular night. She can do the 19th of March if we wanted to move the date. If not, either way, but I asked her because I think of sustainability as she's been doing this since she was on the Board of Supervisors, and now she's back on the board. So there's a very long period of time where she's done things that have not only gone into law, but have been sustainable over time. Still more to do, but I thought that might be something that could set the tone for us, and then be able to recognize women in our community. As you say, each of us could pick someone that we think has done a lot of work in the community, so we don't lose sight of those that continue the work, but maybe she could frame some of the future or even some of the past for us moving forward. So I don't know if people are comfortable with moving the date, or if they're even comfortable with having her do it, or just do our own, picking of 5 people and doing an awards ceremony. So I'm just throwing that out. So if we did have her, it would have to be March 19th, which is the previous Thursday to the women's, what we were going to do.
Can we move the date?
City Hall is available on the 19th if we wanted to move the date.
I don't have any issues moving the date. I don't know if anyone else.
I guess the issue is, would you like her as a speaker? And then the second question is, are people comfortable with moving it to the Thursday before? And those are just my thoughts. If anybody else has comments that of what they'd like to do?
I think with the limited amount of time, and the get that is Supervisor Spear, I think it could bring a lot of people to come, and the folks that we invite to be honored, if maybe Supervisor Spear could be a part of that, I think that would be quite the honor to have her participate, or at least even witness that. I do think that she's been invited to speak at many events like this before, so it might be interesting to get like a new voice in the space. But I think with the limited amount of time, that she's an amazing get, and thank you for taking the initiative to ask her. It'd be an honor if she could come.
Any thoughts? Okay, that's fine. I know it's the first meeting. Any thoughts at that end?
I would need to do a little bit of, I know Jackie Spear's name by recognition, but I'm not super, I don't have a yes or no. So, I mean, at this point, if we wanted to have her on, I think I'd go with the majority.
Okay.
And then we can talk about logistics around the date change.
Did you say you're not familiar with her?
I know.
The only reason I could say that is because I can send you something, just so
That would be
beforehand
great.
we can send you her bio. Yeah. Before she was on the board, she was our congresswoman.
Yes.
So,
yes,
and then,
I know
but the
that.
past, she's got a lot, Assembly, Senate, supervisor to start out with.
I know her her name by recognition.
Sure.
I just don't, I'm not super familiar with her history,
Oh, sure. We can get a bio out if people would like to see, just to have a little bit more.
but I'm not against it. I'll go with the majority on this.
Okay. You feel comfortable with it? And you're comfortable?
Yep.
Is the date, are people comfortable with the date?
Yes.
The 19th work for everybody?
The 19th works for me.
Okay.
It actually works better for me because I'm out of town the following week.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, great.
I did that just for you, Gabby.
I just realized that as I'm saying it out loud.
But the other thing I thought was really interesting is for each of us to come up with someone to be recognized. I
Right.
like that idea.
And Gabby, I know you had pulled up the categories. Can you just
Oh, no,
say
it
that-
wasn't category. This
I
was.
think it was. It was like a young
Oh,
one.
yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
Can you just
so
say the
in
categories?
2024, there were 4 categories. So there were women of excellence,
Okay.
and there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 women, and then there were young women of excellence, and then two women's organization,
Okay.
and then a woman warrior, which was myself, Chan Lucero. So there were 4 categories and 8, 11, 13, 14 women that were recognized.
Okay. And since we have who was presiding mayor then,
I think it was Jocelyn.
could you kind of tell us about the categories that you all came up with, or just the context around that?
At that time, we really wanted to be able to, we understand that women come from all different backgrounds and their different lived experiences. And so when we came up with the categories, we knew it was important to have a diverse category. And it was the first time, we were honoring women in that usually you have one person. And I think when I think of community, there's so many that do the work day in and day out. And so when you look at it, you're like, wow, that's so many women. But, it takes a village to be able to do the work that we all do together. And so the real intent of that was in all the different facets, those that were chosen really gave back in all their different spheres. Yeah. So.
Thank you so much.
I'm wondering, I don't know, I know you sent it to us because I had it online. Can you bring it up on your phone and tell us who, because what we don't, or at least send it to us, what we don't want to do is repeat the people
Sure.
that had it 2 years
Sure.
ago.
Gabby
And-
has it
I have
also
it
You have it
pulled up.
Okay, perfect.
So, and she sent it to us, which is what I got. I mean, I could say it out loud. I can
Sure.
say out loud.
that would be
So my apologies if I'm butchering anyone's name. Tuafeli Matangi Roberta Becca Mifua, Marion Brown, Perla Ibarentos, Marion Mann, Shireen Malika Fazali, Phyllis Rizzi, Kalima Salahuddin, Anna Valenzuela. Those were the women of excellence, the young women of excellence, Alice Lee, Charlotte Sang, Lauren Tam. The 2 organizations were Alice and Gabriella. And then Liza was the woman warrior.
Okay. So I'm wondering, since we're going to have a speaker, would we be better off, because we're not going to have time to, well, I guess we could, well, you got to be careful going back and forth, but if we're going to try to pick people out, it might be easier if each one of us
I agree.
chose someone than trying to fill this many people
Yeah,
and
I
trying to
agree.
agree to it, before the 19th. We also are going to the council on the 9th. They are doing a proclamation for Women's Month, so if anybody can be there. And also we were going to try to tell them what we were going to do. We don't have to tell them who's we're going to appoint, but it might be easier if each one of us appoints someone that we think would fit the bill.
For the groups or like groups of people, I'm trying to rack my brain of like an individual I would nominate, but I would like to know if we could nominate like thematically women in the community. My mind immediately went to the woman who does story time at the John Daly Library over here, and like what a resource that is for us. And then I was like, well, it's not just I just know her story time, but there are so many women librarians and all the women in public service that serve Daly City. I think someone mentioned that. I think it would just be nice to honor them as a whole. And I don't know if they could get like a thank you to their city inboxes or something from us. I don't know. I want to like honor them as a collective more than I can't think of one individual.
I don't think that's a problem. If each one of us either had a group or an individual, I don't think that matters, really, as long as it's, you might want to pick someone from that group to accept the accommodation, So that would probably be the only question is, can you get someone that would accept it for the group? And then maybe the group, a lot of them will show up too, which would be very nice to be recognized. So that's.
I have a few folks in mind. One of them are the amazing women running the Capo Cultural Center, a center that's recently been opened. It's off of San Pedro, just around the corner, doing some great work on entrepreneurial leadership, youth workforce development, and just cultural community building. There are also a few really stellar high school youth from Westmore that I have in mind. And so, yeah, I those are some things that I'm thinking about off the top of my head. But I really love, if we could honor the one librarian that you have in mind as a representative that day of, women who's serving in the capacity of Daly City, I think that would be so nice.
I'd like to recognize Patricia De Vera, who's currently the secretary of the Daly City Public Library Associates. She's, besides the work that she's doing there, she's been a commissioner before, and I know she's been a very active member in our community, and I'd like to recognize her for that. Prior to that, she worked at San Francisco State University for over 25 years.
Yeah, and if you don't have, I don't have someone specific tonight, but so you don't have to be specific tonight if you don't want to be, but if you want to think about it more, the key is we'd need to get something to Natalie probably the week before or so, maybe even I'd say as soon as you can, so that, we'll do commendations. So if you think of somebody or a group that you'd like to recognize, a women's group, or led by a woman and something substantial, that let us know, because we'll make commendations for them as well. So it could either be a group, an individual, or an individual that represents a group, a broader group. That's nice too.
Yeah, can we just chat a little bit about process around that? Like what day, and then how will we agree to that? Or are we, as in our capacity as commissioners, we are recognizing these folks, and the approval of the whole commission is not necessary for that? I said that as a statement, but it really is a question. So let's say I bring up, 2 young people from Westmore. Is that me recognizing them on behalf of the commission, or do we have to sort of approve it as a body?
I think it's more an individual, since we've decided to do it individually, I think that individual commissioner should,
Oh, excellent.
actually probably present it.
Yeah.
Be the one speaking about it. And so that's your presentation. And you could say it's on behalf, because obviously we all like the fact that each of us get to do this, but it's really your decision on who you want to recognize that night as a member of the Women's Commission. That's how I would look at it.
Okay, that makes it clear. Thank you.
And through the chair, was part of your question to determine whether that needed to be approved tonight? Okay. So it's my understanding that we wouldn't have to have all the names approved tonight, if that's, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Would it be possible to have a template email provided that that would have like the time they should arrive, what the program looks like, that we want to honor them. The honoring will happen between here and here.
Right.
You know, it's just some like framing so they understand what to expect. Because it'd kind of be weird from my email address, like, hey, I want to honor you, come by. Like, yeah.
Well, I think the best thing we can do for people, because it's hard to tell them when to come by, but we'll probably do it from, well, this is something we should talk about, because this is important, that we can do it at the time we want. But you also have to think in mind of the people that might show up. Can they be there at that time? I mean, we could do 5 to 6:30, we could do 6 to 7:30, which is probably a better time for people
Yeah.
getting home. It's not going to be a 2-hour thing. It's going to be an hour and a half with, when they get there, there'll be refreshments, and then we'll have, this is just, I'm giving it for instance. And then the first thing that would happen is we'd introduce the guest speaker, she would speak, and then we do the awards. And we'll try to have it timed so that, we don't say, Jackie, just go on, talk forever, maybe a 15-minute or something like that. Because each of the awards, because it'll be 5 different either groups or individuals or whatnot, will be presented. And then at the end, we can probably have a celebratory cake or something like that. I'm just throwing that
Yeah.
out. I mean, I've been to enough of these, you can almost see it in front of you. But we could, I'm happy to work with Natalie, or if anybody else wants to, and we could just work up what we think would work as a schedule and send it out, and people can comment. I don't think that's an issue. I mean, we're not voting on it, we're just trying to make sure it's smooth.
And I'm also happy to send out that template email to everyone once the group or individuals confirmed. And then I can send that just so it's consistent information once we have the program.
I'm not good at touching it. Is it also okay if you were to send the email for it, like on behalf, just to come from an official email address?
Yes,
Thank
I can
you.
send that.
Do you have the contact information, or do we need to go find it?
I think I was going to ask for the contact information once you determine your nomination.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't think I have her contact information, but I'll reach out to.
I think I can find Patricia's. Yeah.
Okay, so you're good with it. That's I was asking for myself personally. Okay. So she is my nominee. I'm good. If you can reach out to her, hopefully she's available.
Natalie, when would you need the names by from the rest of us?
Is next Friday reasonable?
It is reasonable,
Okay.
absolutely.
So March 6th.
So I know that, Commissioner Lucero is new and we sort of have to catch her up, but I wonder if at the Women's Month celebration that we could sort of outline some of the things in our work plan. I don't think, it's not a sort of a presentation of the work plan and the dates, but I appreciate the idea around having a speaker and recognizing women in our community. But I think it would be it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't talk with folks about what we're planning to do. Also, I think the Women's Commission being so new, the event feels like to me an opportunity to get some buy-in from people, like young folks or, public servants or whoever else we invite to participate in some of the things that we're still cooking it up, okay? It's not like we have anything set in stone, but I wondered if folks thought that might be a good idea.
It's a great idea. So I'm thinking of, where would you put that? Would you kick it off with that and then have your speaker and then have your awardees
Yeah, I think,
get lost?
in that sort of opening, maybe one of us or two of us, I think maybe it might be 2 different people, someone introducing Jackie Spear and then maybe one of us thinking about or talking through like what we've done in the past year and what we're looking forward to doing. I think that would be great. I also think, this is not like a hard recommendation, but I think Natasha would be someone who would be a great person to talk about what we've done and sort of where we're headed. No pressure.
Yes, and it goes with something I wanted to bring up later in the agenda under the reports.
Sure, sure. And maybe we can figure out a way that everybody has a role in the event, you know?
I think at the commendations or the recognitions, we'll all get a chance to speak at that moment, right?
That's true, too. So maybe that's, okay, maybe that, so we don't do an overkill, I get it, yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? Just, I mean, this is getting down the nitty-gritty, but it would be nice to have it set up nicely so we have some decorations, some food, some refreshments, especially there in the beginning. They can't bring refreshments in here, so that's why I'd say, 5:30 to 5:45, some refreshments served, and then after, a cake and maybe some more refreshments kind of thing. Because they are coming at dinner time. It's just not dinner, but it's also not a long period of time, but, most people, I'm going to guess, are coming from work. Yeah, something easy. I mean, we can work through that. It's just, I assume we have somewhat of a budget we can work from.
We do, and I was going to offer that staff can work on some small appetizers, and dessert, just to have everything set up. And if there's any preference on having any particular business, we can reach out. Otherwise, I think we have a list of contacts that we use for events.
So is the budget still 500 or around there?
Yes, around 500.
And I assume, because usually there's like all sorts of air lollipops decorations, but I've used them before, and 500 eats up the budget pretty easily. So I don't know, do they like donate the decorations? Do they offer them at a discount?
Sometimes they do donate,
Okay.
but depending on what you'd like, I can reach out
Okay.
and ask. If you'd like to have that air lollipops, I can reach out.
Yeah, I mean, I always like highlighting them, they do great work and they're a local business.
If we could use or prioritize women-owned businesses, I think that would be apropos.
I'm pretty sure they're a woman-owned business.
And I'm just wondering, sort of, for a setup to make it comfortable, I never like it if we're sitting up here in an event like that. Would it be nice?
No, I
I
think
like
we
the
should
fact
do
that
it
people
up
can sit here, but I think we use that as a speaker, So we're with everybody. And they can open up the back if we need it, and then there's a flow of food and things like that. I just don't like, this seems so far removed from everybody.
When I held my event here, I had it outside and I had like a platform that served as a like little stage. I have the platform at home. And then we like covered that with, I don't remember, I think tablecloth. And then we put not dais, but a podium up there. And then the people spoke from that podium, and we had chairs
outside
in front of the glass. What is it called? The glass thing.
And outside or the
It was
rotunda?
right outside this door. There's like where the stairs is, in front of the stairs, there's a glass. Behind the glass, there's stuff. I forgot what it's called because perimenopause.
It used to be a cafe. We used to have a
Remember the
cafe right
cafe?
outside.
Oh, is that? Yeah, but it's just like it. Anyway, it's just literally right outside. So like the stage was right. The door wasn't open. The stage was right there. Just we don't have to do it. I'm just saying we
can
didn't
figure-
utilize
we can
this.
figure
room.
out
We
the
utilized
logistics.
Yeah.
The only reason I suggest this is because the chairs are more comfortable for
Yeah.
people.
And where would Jackie be doing her address?
Right up there, yeah. So she's kind of right with
Facing
the
this
people, and
way?
we do the same, no, she'd be facing them. She can either have the microphone, or she
I
can
see.
turn that one that way. She
Oh,
could
okay.
either stand up here, she's kind of short, or she could stand down there and,
Yeah.
But if we open it up, I also thought it'd be nice, if this is the backdrop, that we do something here as the backdrop, so you don't really see all this, you see more of a backdrop. Or as you say, do it out there and have a backdrop, kind of like when we did the commissioners, when we were
Yeah.
initiated or sworn in, it was you know,
Outside.
well, we came in here for the swearing. No, we didn't. We did it out
We were
there. We did
all
it
out
all out
there,
there.
yeah.
That's, you know, with some balloons stuff, that's a nice setting. We'd have to set up chairs around stuff, not quite as comfortable, but maybe a little more extra work, but, you know.
Yeah, if you'd like to have it outside, we can also have it set up outside if you prefer it than in the council chambers.
It worked well. I mean, both for our, I think, for our swearing in, and
Yeah,
it was more. I don't know if casuals the, but
It's
right.
more, it was cozier.
It was, yeah.
It was more, you know, more intimate.
Yes.
So, and, you know, that's perfectly fine as long as where we're speaking from, people can hear from wherever they are in the rotunda there.
I think there were portable speakers.
Yes, we'll have the speaker system set up outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if that's the preference to do it out there, it was nicely set up then. It was a nice little venue.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, we can definitely do that.
And if you guys need me to bring my stage, I can bring.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And the thing is, we don't know how many people we're gonna get.
Yeah.
You know, you can get a few or you can get a lot. I'm gonna guess if you do groups of people being awarded, there'll be more people that show up, which is nice. We just have to, and I think if we do a flyer, we might just put RSVP so we get at least a sense
Yep.
of people. You know, and if someone's gonna have someone from a group that's gonna come, maybe if they could get a sense of how many people they might be bringing with them, you know, half a dozen, a dozen.
Maybe we can ask the honorees specifically too, because they're probably going to bring the most.
Yeah, they bring
People.
family and all, yeah. And I guess the question from there starts, where are we gonna post this? On our website, on Facebook, on,
We can put it on the city's website, so that would include the website, Instagram, maybe Facebook, but I know for sure they have an Instagram page.
and then can we do it in our libraries and things like that too?
Yeah, we can advertise
Think
it
of
throughout the
places where
city.
enough people walk through that they might see it.
Yeah, we can distribute hard copies to all the library branches and all the departments as well.
Maybe like down at the Dolger Center too, Park and
Yeah.
Rec. Is there anything else you can think of that I'm just trying to get some of the basics. I'm sure we're gonna have to work on this as the week goes on, and I'm happy to participate, and if anybody else wants to give, you know, help pull it all together, but, you know, but I think it'll, since we did, well, we didn't do it, but the city did the women's one, I think we kind of know the setup, and that was really nice. That worked out really well, so.
Okay, great. I'll
And
make
maybe
sure
the
to-
honorees will get to stand there and get their pictures taken and, you know, under the balloons. And if you have any more thoughts, sometimes you go home and you go, oh, shoot, I wish I said that. If you have any other thoughts, you know, send them to Natalie, and then we'll kind of go through all the things we've said and see if we can get it sort of a smooth running event, and then send everything out so everyone can take a look at it and say, oh, we forgot this or we forgot that. Because we only have, well, it's a little shorter. We have about 3 weeks now. But we also are going to, if any or all of you can come to the March 9th council meeting, they're going to present a proclamation for Women's History Month. They're going to present it to us. It's a Monday night.
I'll be there.
It's 7 o'clock.
On the night.
You cannot, okay. But if anybody can, it'd be good to be there. I'll be there. Can you be there on the 9th? Okay, great, 7 o'clock. It's usually right in the beginning too, so you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. Just usually one of the first or second presentations probably, so that'd be perfect. Okay, do we feel like we have enough to chew on? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you all.
okay, great. All right, then we'll move on to our reports. Commissioners, you mentioned that you might have a report?
But if
Or-
anyone else wants to go.
I'm happy to report. Adrian and I were at the Listen and Learn event by the Commission of Status of Women, the San Mateo County-wide sort of effort, going to the different districts. And I thought it was a really great event. And Adrian, after I say my piece, I'm sure you'll have things to add. What was important to me at the event was there was child minding, there was food for folks who were there, and the presentation started with the Fund the Future report. And it wasn't a very long presentation about, the sort of details of the report, but I think it was really useful for them to lift up the sort of core issues that the Fund the Future report is concentrated on, one of which is sort of the economic health of women in San Mateo County, childcare. Adrian, is there something else here that I'm forgetting?
Did you say financial insecurity or financial stability?
Financial, all of that. I'm sorry, I have my notebook right here. But I think it wasn't just the report that I was glad to hear about, but I think they were really talking about the child care blueprint for San Mateo County, which they said that was approved in late 2025, and hoping the CSW on the county level is hoping to roll out that blueprint in the spring. So we should note that in our future conversations, that there is a blueprint coming out. What do we have to do with that? How are we interacting with those things in terms of proposing policy for the city council? There were listening circles held afterwards. Adrian and I were not in the same group, but in my group, we had 2 youth commissioners joining us and a few other folks. And I think, the questions that were being asked were, what kind of barriers do women experience for economic well-being, and what can help? And so some of the things that came up in our conversation was, ideas around basic income or a guaranteed income, and also thinking through financial literacy. There was a really innovative proposition around mentorship, because just acknowledging that women of color, immigrant women, oftentimes gain financial literacy from informal networks, and how do we formalize those networks for women across, different communities. And maybe the last thing I will say is around how do we communicate with young people around this? Young folks are talking about short form content and where do they find their information. And Adrian, I know we were chatting about checkbooks, balancing checkbooks earlier, and that's sort of not what maybe anybody does right at this moment. But I think that's something that we need to consider also, is how are we as the Women's Commission engaging young women around the issues that we are finding important.
And I'll just add a little bit to that. Our group was a little bit older, and I say that because all of them had children, but they were out of the house now. So their big issue was, where are they going to live, and how can they afford the rent? And even the folks that were there were saying the same thing, can I continue to live here in California because of the cost of living? And, the question was asked, do you feel you're in a place where you could retire securely right now? And, I being the oldest of all of them, I said, I'm not sure. I've certainly taken a lot of steps, but, it moves all the time. You just don't know what the market's going to do. You don't know, what you're going to need in the future. If you didn't have a house now, it's going to be very tough to buy a house. And we also talked about financial security and how these young folks need to be able to have, as you called it, mentorship to help them figure their way into recognizing that you have to save today for tomorrow. And then I was talking with the youth after, and we were talking about, now they've initiative where in the schools they're going to start teaching financial literacy or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what they're calling it. And someone in our group said, well, yeah, they really need to know how to balance their checkbooks. I said, guys, please don't sound like a dinosaur because they don't do that anymore. I said, what we need to figure out from them is how do they handle their money? How do they do what we did in our day and, putting money away and balancing a checkbook and knowing that you have money in the bank and things like that. So it's a whole different level now because everything's computerized, everything's AI. It's just... But it was a very interesting conversation because a lot of them there were very concerned about them staying here, let alone their children. And none of their children lived in Daly City. They're either in the East Bay or somewhere else because they really can't afford, unless they have 4 or 5 people living with them. And even that is exorbitant together. So it was a real eye-opener. We didn't get to childcare because no one there had little ones, so it wasn't a topic that we took up, but it was very well attended. I thought it was very interesting, and I was glad they did it in our district, and it'd be interesting to go to some of the other districts and hear what they have to say. I bet it'd be somewhat similar, though, but you never know. I mean, we tend to be unique here as well. So anyways, very well. I really enjoyed it myself. So okay, and you had a comment.
Yeah, and the stuff that you brought up leads directly to it. So in my day job, I'm a long-range planner with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and the comments I'm about to say have nothing to do with me in that capacity. But as Councilmember Manalo was saying, we bring our lived experience with us to this place. And this week, we approved a regional policy to adopt transit-oriented communities, which are incentive programs to get people to build affordable, accessible, multi-use housing around transportation so that we can get people closer to transportation to get them where they need to go and link all that stuff together. And it's much more complicated, and I don't have the time to explain it. They've been talking about it for years, so it's very exciting. But one thing that made me really sad and disgruntled as a San Mateo County resident was some of the discourse that was happening brought up by San Mateo County representatives on that commission. And there was a representative, Gina Pappin, who's there on her own accord, not as an elected, but she was appointed to the commission. And she was saying, we don't need a policy that encourages tenant protections. We don't need a policy that encourages more building. We're doing fine as we are with housing, and we are following state law, and we're good. We don't need more. And when I hear those types of things, especially kind of against things that are incentivizing tenant protections, anti-tenant harassment, rent capping, a whole suite of tenant protection policies that could be used, it makes me really, really sad that that's not the San Mateo County that I'm hearing about from our communities that are really struggling to afford here, to stay here, that are feeling housing insecure. And to see my county that story not being told by someone supposedly representing our county was really just a bummer, for lack of a better word. And I'm very happy that Supervisor Corzo was also there and someone that brought a renter's perspective to that conversation. And it was interesting seeing the two sides of our county's stories kind of unfortunately clashing. But it made me think, go home and what is Daly City doing about it? And I saw an item that was at the Daly City board meeting around, it was a resolution for the consideration of, I'm reading the language, it was December 8th, consideration of a resolution affirming to support for tenant protections and housing stability. And it was interesting because they didn't take anti-tenant harassment into policy that day, but they're going to study it and bring it to the June mid-year budget cycle. And they'll be exploring the following things. Thank you guys for bearing with me on this, but I thought it was really interesting. So there are many members of the community coming out saying that they're dealing with landlords that aren't upkeeping their apartments, that are letting mold run rampant, that they are having their rents illegally increased, and that they want support. And the council said that they would do, scrolling, they're affirming their support, they're looking into policy direction, and to continue researching and evaluating local tenant protection options, and including the implementation of a tenant anti-harassment ordinance, collaboration with tenants, landlords, legal service providers, future consideration of an tenant anti-harassment ordinance for the city of Daly City, and progress reports and mid-cycle reviews. And earlier, the mayor and vice mayor were bringing up that we are here to serve in an advisory capacity, and that's something that I've been missing as a commissioner thus far, and I know that we're still very early, is this is something huge for women in Daly City. And I would love for our commission to be a voice that's influencing this, or at least sharing perspective on this. And to hear over and over that housing matters. The biggest city in San Mateo County, housing really matters, and then seeing someone representing San Mateo County saying that it does, it's not that big a deal. Like, all of these things at once are quite frightening. And so I really would like for us, if we could talk about this at a future meeting, and be able to serve in more of an advisory capacity as far as like hot topics for the city right now. I'm struggling to get like more of like a question, but I just want to be able to support these really bold strategies that might be fledgling, you know, and how can we shape them. That was a lot. Thank you guys for sticking with me there, but
No, it's I mean, it's also like if we can offer an analysis of why housing is important for women, mothers, heads of household, breadwinners, and how I think it is important to not think of housing as not just a general issue, because it's a really a gendered issue. I'm sure that many women in Daly City are taking that responsibility on as to how to house their families, and if they are evicted or having issues with their housing, that you know falls on the shoulder of women. And so I think maybe my question, Natasha, and maybe to the whole commission is, how do we then how then can we be in conversation with the council around in an advisory capacity?
I'd love to ask that same question up. And then also, when I also serve on the Daly City Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and sometimes we work on letters that we send up that we all sign on to, or we try to get everyone to sign on to. And I might draft up a letter about our interest in this topic as far as how it relates to women in Daly City. I brought a lot of printouts, but evictions are up to pre-pandemic levels in San Mateo County. Upwards of 90% of landlords have lawyers in those eviction cases. Only 3% of renters in those do. The women stay in domestic abuse situations and unhealthy relationships a lot longer due to housing. So I think this is very much in our vein. So I would love to know what avenues we can take to push this forward.
So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm looking at the action plan for the county around women and children and sort of the priorities. And then I think back to the conversations that we've had about our priorities. And I just want more advice on how do we orient ourselves on the things that we are individually passionate about that matter so much to us, and then the things that we want to take up as a commission, and how we choose that. Like for example, when I think about low-hanging fruit and I look through their action plan, they have a statement around declaring that childcare is an essential safety net. And affirming that every child deserves the opportunity to grow in an environment that nurtures their physical, emotional, educational development, and that every family is worthy of systems that support and facilitate the well-being. Like for me, as a passion topic, like that is my passion topic, like where your passion topic may be housing. Myself as a homeowner who doesn't own property, it is not relevant for me personally. I don't have an emotional connection to it, but I have an emotional connection to childcare. I have an emotional connection to domestic violence prevention, around reproductive health and healthcare freedom, which are on there, and financial literacy and the wealth gap, which are all on the action plan for women and children in the county. So I'm not negating your perspective. I think it's super valid. But I want to highlight that it's something that you are personally passionate about, that we need to all get on the same page of what are we passionate about as a commission, and what are the things that we want to tackle short term, medium term, long term. So again, I respect your perspective and I understand where you're coming from. For me personally, if I'm going to pick the things that I think we should focus on first, that would not be it. Again, that's not to say it's not important. But just sharing my perspective.
May I have the chance to respond to that quickly? Just the reason I brought that up is not on my interest. I brought it up as my exposure to it, but piggybacking on the things that were shared from the listening sessions, what was shared from the brief survey we did at Top of the Hill, if financial literacy is important to the regional commission, the thing we spend most on our budgets is housing. Having more housing would unlock so much. So I think it is probably the top of mind for most people. And I urge our commission to do more soul searching. Like, I actually don't care what I think as a commissioner. I want to do what the community thinks, and that's what I've been hearing and what I'm seeing. So, yeah, I don't. The point you brought up about naming things or resolution things or the intent to study this thing. I want to actually do stuff, and I really want to think boldly about what we can do as a commission that actually implements change on the ground now, because people are suffering and losing the things. So, yeah, I'll
Let me
stop
make
there.
a suggestion, because we came up with a game plan, and I think maybe what we should do is review the game plan, bring it back, and talk about what we have as our work plan, and see how some of these issues can fit in. They might have to be subcommittee related. They might be a one-off. But, what I don't want to do is all of a sudden we all start bringing up stuff and our game plan just goes, whoop. Just because it's been a while since we brought it up, it'd be good to revisit it and then see where, if there's other things we'd either want to put in front of that, work with it as a sidebar, or if there's some issues that you have specifically, if we want forward to the council and say there's a real concern on our board that housing is a number one issue, all these different things, we'd really like the council to take some bold action, something like that. We're not going to be taking the bold action. They will take the bold action. But if they hear from us as the concerns we have on a variety of things and say, we would like these to be some of your top focus, they could take it or leave it, as we know, but it still gives us a voice to say, we're very concerned on these percentages of this and these percentages of this, and we need to look at this. And, some of what I heard from you there too is it's not only is it the housing, but the landlords aren't doing what they should be doing to keep them in a comfortable state where they're living. So the rent might not be impossible, but when everything's leaking and nothing's working and the lights don't work and this doesn't work, that's not a good way to live. And they need to be accountable, and so do our code enforcement officers need to be accountable. So that's where I see there are some things we can do immediately that can help the living situation currently, not the financial situation currently necessarily, but the living situation. So, sometimes when you break it down, you have to look at what we can actually encourage them to do immediately, and then what we can encourage to be done, moving forward. So that's just a thought that we revisit and then look at some potential things we might want to look at as sidebars.
And I my Robert's Rules of Order, and like I maybe should have framed this around the motion to have as a information item more a presentation from city staff around what they're working on for when the resolution said that at the June budget hearing, they will come up with an action plan about how to address the tenant harassment policy and their game plan. It'd be really interesting to hear more about that and hear about how they're considering women in that. Because it's something that's already happening and they're gonna do it in June. And we only have one meeting a month, that it's basically June. So
I fully support that. I mean, I think that's a great idea, and I love that idea, and I love that we're saying, like, you're already working on this, how are women, right? And I think that's definitely in our purview, and I'm 100% in support of that.
Ally,
Yeah. So if you're gonna move to do that, I would second that motion. I also think that in our work plan, we have discussed that our role as a Women's Commission is to help shape policy and be an advisory presence. I think that this is not far from what we have agreed upon in the work plan. To your comment around bringing back the work plan, I think it would be really good for Commissioner Lucero to be, caught up to what we have worked on at the retreat and what our vision moving forward is. And then the last thing I'll say is that I think we are all bringing our lived experience here, but at the end of the day, we are serving the public, and whether it is each of us probably have our own personal passion projects, but I think when we are talking about being public servants, we really have to really think about what are the issues that are affecting most of the women in Daly City. That is our charge, after all. And so I think there's nothing that has been talked about this evening that's not at the top of the mind for women in Daly City. But I do think that when we're approaching these, is that our personal issues or our personal projects, I don't think that is the best way for us to, or how we should center how this commission moves. And if that is the case, then we should come to some conclusion about how we are choosing which policies to shape and what types of analysis we're trying to bring up to the city council.
So let me just mention, because we're under reports, we can't take a motion in a second, but we can do is recommend that there be something that comes back on our next agenda under something where we can vote on it. To vote to just take some of these things up and be able to make recommendations to send forward, because under reports, we can't really make a motion to do an action.
it's a motion for information, not for action.
I think you don't even have to make the motion. We could just ask if we can get information. Yeah, you don't have to make a motion on that. So
I just wanted to make sure that I clarified. There's a couple different things I'm hearing. One is to agendize the revisiting of our work plan. That should
right.
be brought back at our next regularly scheduled meeting. And the second would be to request information or a presentation from city staff about the item on December 8th regarding that is the request. So I will look into that option. Did I miss the third? I just want to make sure that
I was just saying, if there was something specific we want to bring back, but maybe having them come speak, and that's going to be an item, perhaps we can make recommendations to come back with, a resolution or an ordinance, or, well, we can do resolution, we can't really do ordinances, that's for the council to do, or recommendations to the council, let's put it that way. So maybe having that presentation would be the first step, and from that, we can make requests of things going straight forward to the council, if we so choose to.
And so I will look into the presentation and the status of that particular item from December 8th and
Okay.
how close they are to the June mid-year
I
budget.
figure our March meeting is done because that's the our event, so they'll have April, May, so somewhere in the April, May, when they've got something, a little bit tighter. What we have to be careful of, oftentimes, they don't want to present to a commission before it goes to the council. So what they might be able to do is tell us what happened at that meeting and where where it was going and what they were responding to. Because there's always been an issue where if the public knows more than the council knows, then it puts the council in an awkward position. So I just throw that out there. It may not matter. We'll find out. But just as a thought, having been there.
I also wonder if there's other things that staff is working on around some of the other topics within the action plan for the county. If there's anything being discussed about domestic violence, about childcare, about reproductive health in Daly City.
I know there's childcare for sure.
Yeah, I've heard about the childcare,
They-
so
they
I'd
gotta-
be curious about what's specific to the action plan, which is like, it's a 3-page document. I can send it around.
It's the county action.
Yeah,
I was
it's
gonna
the
say
county
County
action.
action plan, not the cities, not the
Yeah,
action plan. that we-
but that's like, I mean, going off the rails here, I think it'd be great for us to work on creating an action plan of whatever the topics are for Daly City, and what are the things that we want the council to commit to, or what the council is willing to commit to. But I'm curious about if any of this is already in motion. Any of these, I know what we've heard about childcare for a long time, building a child care center here and around Daly City,
that's
City
like a-
Hall. So it would be interesting, whether it's the county's action plan or any of the items that are in what we discussed, what our action plan is, if
Yeah,
there's
well, if we
anything
revisit
already.
ours, maybe we can have the
Yeah.
county plan at the same time and just see if there's some simpatico.
Yeah.
So we don't reinvent the wheel and maybe we move to things that are more conducive to Daly City specific.
I'm going to respond to Natalie's last email, and I don't have, Lizelle's not on here, but I'm just going to attach this link so you guys could have easy access to the county's action plan.
Any other comments or questions? Do you have anything you want to say for this evening?
No, I actually agree on what, because my concern is also regarding, the prevention of domestic violence.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we'll then move on to staff reports. Natalie, do you have anything to report?
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Okay. Well, then we will, is there a motion to adjourn?
I
Is there a
second.
motion? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good meeting.